The maintenance elevator descended past floors that shouldn't exist. Kael watched the indicator lights tick downward, sublevel 3, 4, 5, while Ren's jury-rigged access card spoofed clearance codes in real time. The stolen credentials belonged to a maintenance supervisor who'd conveniently called in sick, giving them a narrow window before anyone noticed the unauthorized descent. Signal dampeners are holding, Ren whispered, checking his tablet. Your fragment signature should be masked for another hour. Ghost phased partially through the elevator wall, her translucent form scouting the shaft below. More levels, she reported. Goes down at least to 12. Heavy electromagnetic shielding starts at 8. The elevator shuddered to a stop at sublevel 9. The doors opened onto a corridor that belonged in a medical facility, not a military outpost. Sterile white walls curved in organic patterns. Soft blue light emanated from bioluminescent panels that pulsed with rhythmic intensity. This architecture is wrong, the frequency whispered with uncharacteristic uncertainty. Designed for resonance containment. They moved forward in formation, Kael point, Ghost scouting the flanks in partial phase, Ren monitoring electronic systems while Okafor covered their rear. The commander's prosthetic arm moved with mechanical precision as he checked corners, but Kael could see the tension in his shoulders. The first security checkpoint was unmanned, its biometric scanners dark. Ren's spoofed credentials opened the reinforced door with a soft pneumatic hiss. Beyond it, the corridor branched into a hub with 5 sealed chambers radiating outward like spokes on a wheel. Jesus, Ren breathed. Each chamber was visible through reinforced transparent aluminum. Inside, medical pods the size of coffins hummed with quiet energy. And in the pods, Kael's stomach turned to ice. The figure in the first chamber might once have been human. Now it floated in suspension fluid, tubes and cables snaking into ports that had been surgically grafted along the spine and skull. But the worst part wasn't the invasive technology, it was the partial transformation. The skin had taken on a crystalline quality, shot through with veins of light that pulsed in rhythm with monitoring equipment. The face was caught between human features and something geometric, alien. Not dead. Not alive. Suspended in an agonized middle state. Fragment extraction protocol, the frequency whispered with something approaching horror. They are harvesting the integration. Ghost drifted to the second chamber, her form flickering with recognition and rage. Marcus Webb. The name hit Kael like a physical blow. The weaver he'd drained in the cafeteria was here, transformed into something that hurt to look at directly. The crystalline veins pulsed brighter when Ghost approached, as if responding to her presence. They're still conscious, Okafor said quietly, studying the monitoring displays. Brain activity shows active awareness. They can feel everything. The third chamber held a woman Kael didn't recognize, Asian features distorted by the same crystalline transformation. The fourth contained a man whose phase walker abilities had left him trapped between dimensions, his form shifting constantly between solid and translucent. The fifth chamber was the worst. Elena Torres floated in the suspension fluid, her signal abilities turned inward. The monitoring equipment showed her fragment 3, as partially extracted, a writhing mass of energy held in containment fields above her pod. My sibling, the frequency keened with genuine grief. What have they done to you? Ren moved between the monitoring stations, his face pale with horror and fascination. The extraction process is incredible. They're not just studying the fragments, they're surgically removing them while keeping the hosts alive. Look at these power readings. The harvesting equipment hummed with contained energy. Tubes carried glowing fluid from each pod to a central processing unit that refined raw resonance into something that registered on instruments as pure power. Enough energy to run Outpost Blackthorn for months. The screaming Okafor mentioned, Ghost said, her voice hollow. They're awake for all of this. Kael approached the central monitoring station, his hands shaking as he accessed the facility logs. Patient status report scrolled across multiple screens. Duration of containment. Extraction percentages. Projected timeline to complete harvest. And there, at the bottom of the active monitoring list, an entry that made his blood freeze. Fragment number 2, the archive, host, Petrov, Luka, status, delivery scheduled. Luka was supposed to be delivered here tonight. Warning, the frequency suddenly blazed across his vision. Additional fragment signature detected. Close proximity. Ghost spun toward the corridor. Someone's coming. But Kael's attention was locked on the 6th monitoring station, the one he'd initially missed in his horror at the occupied pods. The display showed recent activity logs, timestamps from just hours ago. Fragment number 5, the mirror, host, Chen, Daniel, status, containment breach, subject escaped, search protocol active. The pod labeled Chamber 6 stood empty, its reinforced door torn open from the inside. Suspension fluid pooled on the floor around twisted metal. And spray painted on the wall in what looked suspiciously like blood. The mirror shows truth. Ghost materialized fully solid beside him. Kael. That signature the frequency detected. It's not coming down the corridor. Her eyes were wide with terrified recognition. It's already here.